So those of you that are watching, thank you for joining us today. So in the chat section, I see we have so it's a couple different people from calling in. We have a representative from the city of Chino. We have somebody from the BIA. We have somebody from Chino Valley Fire. We have several representatives of our board of directors from the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. We have somebody from the Inland Empire Utilities Agency. So for all of you that are here today, welcome to the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce leaders panel on the coronavirus. We have different panelists that are here to present on those topics. I know that I'm hoping that they get here soon. So with that, I think we'll kick it off from U.S. Congressman Gil Cisneros' office. We have Representative Stephanie Wade. Before I bring Stephanie on to talk about this, let me give some brief updates that the chamber has kind of put together for you. On our homepage of our website, we have a coronavirus update page. This page, we're trying to put together all of the information that's relevant to Chino Valley businesses in the forefront. So those new things are being passed, those new programs, those new initiatives, any kind of new information, we're trying to make sure we get that to you on the homepage of our website. So we update that about once every other day. We also send it out to our email list. We have put together a list for Chino Valley restaurants. So if you're looking to do takeout or delivery services, we put together a list of restaurants in the Chino Valley that are offering that. We also put together a list of businesses that are still in operation, so that are still running and conducting business as usual. We put those businesses on a list as well. So if those are all located on our homepage of our website, so you're free to check those out. Please share those. I see a lot of posts in our community groups that say, hey, I want to support local business. How can I do that? This is a great way to just send them the link that says, here's all the businesses in town that are doing that. So please help us get the word out about that. With that, and I also want to give a brief update too. My wife has a doctor's appointment this morning, so she's going into the doctor's office. So I am here with the kids. So you might be seeing some kids coming in and out throughout the production today. But I want to thank you guys all for coming online and learning about what is happening in our community and communicating with leaders. This is also your opportunity to ask questions. So we compile these folks here together so you can get the questions, you can get the answers to the questions that you're looking for about what our leaders are doing to try and help support our community. So with that, Stephanie, you're up.
Hi, thanks, Zeb. The first thing I need to do is pass on from the Congressman his thanks to Zeb and the Chino Valley Chamber. You really sort of set a very high standard in maintaining communications, and the Congressman in particular really wanted me to highlight that and say thank you. I'll just have a couple of very brief updates. The only two things I really need to update people about are the stimulus bill and the Small Business Association disaster loans. So I just wanted to let you know that we can now tell you that the stimulus checks are getting out really rapidly, faster than some of our staff even thought. So if there are basically three categories that people are going to fall into, three major categories. If you filed electronically taxes within the last 2 years, you should start to see stimulus checks hitting by the same mechanism and to the same account that you had filed with in your most recent tax year. So that should happen next week. April 13th is when the electronic payments will start going out for those who've done electronic filing and received their any refunds electronically. Those who are on Social Security, you will also be receiving payments, and they've worked out all the kinks, so you're not going to have to do anything extra to apply. And they expect those to start coming out April 23rd, are when Social Security recipients should be receiving their stimulus checks that week and beyond. And again, it's coming by the same mechanism by which you receive Social Security, so most folks should be on direct deposit, and that's what you should be receiving. Finally, there's the category of people who are tax filers, but who have been receiving their checks as hard checks. And they don't expect those checks to go out. So that is, if you've not received your refunds electronically, they expect those checks to go out the first week of May, hard checks. I should also point out regarding the stimulus, there are a couple of special categories. We've had some casework with individuals who may have changed their bank account. And so what we believe is going to happen is, say if you had your deposit, say maybe your refund sent to an account that's no longer open, and you have a new account, what's likely to happen is that account will get kicked back, and the IRS has said that they're going to come up with a means or a mechanism for people to correct that information. They haven't done that yet. We expect it shortly. There are some tax preparation services that are trying to help with that, but we can't endorse those. I will say that we'll let you know for those people who might be in a category that they're afraid their check is not going to get to them because they've changed their banking information. We should have an update on that shortly. And a really good way to make sure you're getting those kinds of federal updates is the e-newsletter, which, we've always tried to make it informative. But, now more than ever, we've been finding people to find that a lifeline. So if you go to repcisneros.gov and the Congressman's website, you'll find the first thing when you land on that site is an option to join and receive the Congressman's newsletter. And that's, not a partisan thing. That's just a way for us to communicate with people in the district. And we're pumping out a lot of that information about things like the stimulus check and the small business loans. So let me just turn to that update. I'm doing, we know there's been some frustration that people have applied for loans and the targets haven't been reached. However, I think help is still on the way and we're addressing the problems. I know that at least at the moment, Wells Fargo loans, they've exceeded their original authorized lending capacity. That's being addressed, and we hope that those will open up more quickly. But it is also possible to apply with other lenders. So if you're having trouble with Wells Fargo, feel free to consult on other lenders. I know that B of A, Bank of America, is supposed to be moving like gangbusters and one of the faster ones. I will also tell you that we now know that the Federal Reserve is stepping in to back up these payments to make sure there's enough liquidity for the banks to get the Small Business Association disaster loans out the door. And then the last thing I wanted to say on the Small Business Association loans, we think these are really incredibly valuable, especially because they have such generous provisions to allow large portions, if not all of the loan to be forgiven if it's used to support payroll. And we really want to keep people employed, and we know you all in the chamber do too. So an important thing about the small business loans, if you're not having trouble getting in touch with Chris Lorenzana, who's our Small Business Association rep, or you don't think you're getting appropriate service through the Small Business Administration, I want you to flag it for me directly, and we'll do casework and we'll follow up, because they've been the Small Business Association rep, Chris Lorenzana, and I'll put his information and my information in the chat box. But they've been very responsive to us. So if there's a business in our district that really thinks it's getting stuck, we're going to do the casework for you. Zeb, that's all I have, unless anybody had any questions for me.
Yeah, we did have a few questions. I know that we've had, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but maybe be more. Maybe you can help out being a little bit more direct. We've had a lot of people come to the chamber that are trying to get those PPP loans and are having some challenges with their bank. So you mentioned Wells Fargo. We had one of our businesses that had an account at Wells Fargo and couldn't get access to that program. He felt like he would be the perfect candidate for that program, as that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to do everything by the book. Couldn't do it. He's been reaching out to local banks. We've been trying to help him out with that too. And he's having some challenges just finding a bank that will offer those loans. Do you have any kind of advice or insight on what steps he should take to make sure?
And I'm going to ask, who is it again? Or are they at liberty to say?
It's one of our businesses.
Yeah, so can you put me in touch with them directly, and we'll try and help. But the first thing you need to do is get with the Small Business Association and start your paperwork and get flagged with them, because they can often connect you with the lenders that have the liquidity at the moment. I think most of us go to banks where we have a line of credit.
Yep.
I'm familiar with a couple of organizations who did that with Wells Fargo, even fairly early on. And Wells Fargo quickly exceeded its lending capacity, I think mainly because their exposure is so large in California, and California businesses have been quick to jump on this, as well as nonprofits, which is entirely what we want you to do, but I think Wells Fargo is having a little bit of trouble. We're hoping that the Federal Reserve and the Treasury are going to be able to specifically address Wells Fargo, but we don't want you to wait for Wells Fargo. So, I'd encourage anybody who's in that position, either with Wells Fargo or another lender, to reach in touch, to get in touch with me by email, and I'm going to send you the casework authorization, and then we're going to get to work on your case.
Okay, that's great. Here's a couple of other questions for you. Somebody's mother hasn't had to file taxes but receives SSA payments. She will get her deposit in the first category. I'm not quite sure how to phrase that.
No, it would be the second category, I believe. That would be the April 23rd, the week of the April 23rd, those checks should start going out.
Okay.
So, that's essentially the Social Security Administration. And so they should receive things 2 weeks, essentially, in 2.5 weeks. That's when those checks will start hitting people's bank accounts.
Okay, great. And then have any funds been dispersed on the SBA PPP loans?
I'm sorry?
Have any funds been dispersed on the SBA PPP loans?
Not that we're aware of in the district, but we think we're getting pretty close. And, we have I think a lot of, or Zeb, you're going to be on the small business roundtable that the Congressman is going to be hosting on Thursday. And I really hope that he's, that's what staff and the Congressman are pushing for, to be able to really have some detailed answers from SBA about how much is out the door and how much, and targets for when it's coming out the door for other borrowers.
Okay, perfect. And just so that everybody knows, in the chat section of our group, there's been some correspondence about some places where they do have those PPP loans available. So thank you, Peter, for including that info. Thank you, Vivian, from the city of Chino, for including that info as well. Looks like we got some good resources there. And I know that contacting Stephanie directly would be a great way to handle that as well.
And I'm putting that information for both myself and Chris Lorenzana into the chat space now. So if somebody needs that, please take it.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for coming on and providing an update from Congressman Cisneros' office. I really appreciate it. Okay. Next on our agenda here is Chino Police Chief Wes Simmons. I think I got you there. Chief, are you there?
I'm here, Zeb. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody we're kind of in the critical stages right now of this COVID-19 pandemic, and we're looking at, in California specifically, the experts are saying a peak on the 14th of April. So this is the time for people to stay home. We're trying to reiterate that message. If you're not part of the critical infrastructure and don't need to be out, do not. If you do have to go out for essentials such as groceries, the county is recommending that people wear masks. Again, that's not just to help protect the person wearing a mask, but to help prevent those people who have to work in critical infrastructure, such as our grocery stores and food delivery. For our police officers, we made it mandatory for them to start wearing masks last week. So if you've seen our police officers out there contacting people, they are wearing an N95 mask, and that's for their safety as well as the public safety. We can't have our police officers come down with this. We need them available to continue to respond and assist people in need, which they're doing on a regular basis. As far as crime in the city of Chino, we have continued to see our calls for service decrease. Currently, about 30% they've decreased, but we have seen an uptick, as I talked about last week, in fight calls, domestic disputes, and then mental health calls. We think this is related to the anxiety that's going on with the COVID-19 and people being in close proximity. And again, I just reiterate that people should reach out to their faith-based leaders, to the city. The city has a good counseling program. Those are some avenues people can take to help them get through this time. I'd also like to share our community services is doing the senior food delivery. You have to register for that. So if there are seniors out there who need food delivered, the community services is doing that, and they can register at 334-3271. Again, Chino Community Services at 334-3271 for seniors who need to have food delivered. The last thing I'd like to share is for the most up-to-date information is go to the cityofchino.org website. Right there on the front page, we have a whole page of frequently asked questions. And later today, we will be posting on there and our social media information regarding the economic injury and disaster loan and the Paycheck Protection Program application process. So some tips on that will be posted there for your business members to take a look at. That's all I had to share, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Chief. Here's a question for you. Does the department require anything for the staff and officers? BAPS is willing to help.
I really appreciate that. We are doing great. Our association has been providing food every day for our personnel by going out to our small businesses or restaurants to purchase that food. They see that as a way to pay back to those businesses that have supported the police association throughout the years. So the food has been covered. We have received donations for food or for drink and snacks for our personnel. So again, so they don't have to go out. They have that stuff here available at the station. We've received donations of masks, and we're all set with that. We're doing really well. I would encourage people who want to donate. Let's look to the hospital and let's look to our community, because as I said, the county is recommending that people wear masks when they go out in public. So if people have masks to donate, obviously the N95 should be reserved for healthcare workers and first responders, but homemade masks or other type of masks that people can cover their face with, let's get those out to those who have to go out to take care of some of that critical stuff.
Hey, Chief, here's a question for you on when we're talking about the mask. So for folks that don't, like, let's say you don't have a mask because they're difficult to come by, what kind of solutions are there for people to go out in the public with, including masks?
Okay, so I had to go pick up a few things from the grocery store this weekend when I was off duty, and I had an old bandana back in my gear, and I just put that on went out. Obviously, that's a little different for us, but as I went out to pick up some essential groceries, I saw other people were doing the same thing. People have neck gaiters that they have been wearing, different things like that, just to cover your nose and your mouth. Whatever you have available. My wife and daughter also sewed a few homemade masks together for us, so we have that. There's a lot of options out there that people can wear to cover their nose and their mouth.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you so much, Chief. Really appreciate the insights there, and appreciate you for taking the time to come on.
Thank you very much for having me. And just again, I encourage everybody to stay home. This next week and a half, 2 weeks is the most critical. So thank you very much, and be safe.
Perfect. And then I want to have a comment about our chat section real quick. So those of you that are leaving chats in the chat box, there is like a little pull down tab in there. Right now, a lot of the chats are going to the panelists directly, so they're not going to everyone. So when you post in the chat section, make sure you click that little downward arrow that says to everyone, so that we make sure that the posts go out to everybody, so that everybody can see those posts. I'm going to share everything that's been included that people have communicated towards the panelists. I'll put those in the chat box that have been missed. So just let you know that that's coming. Next, we have our State Senator, Connie Leyva. Connie, are you there?
I think so. Can you hear me, Zab?
Yes, I can.
Can you see me?
We can't see you though, no, but
Okay,
I can hear you.
I'll have to figure that out on my computer.
Yes, so please provide your updates with our Chino Valley folks.
Absolutely. Well, good morning. First, thank you all for having me. Secondly, I hope everyone is staying safe and their families safe. and we're all taking care of each other. So I want to back up a little bit. On March 9th, it was a Monday, and we went up to session, and we were able to vote as a Senate unanimously to give the governor $1.1 billion to use at his discretion to do what he has been doing, and that is buying the equipment that we need so that we are ready here in California. I hope that all of you have seen his briefings. He does brief us, the Democratic caucus, on Tuesdays, and I know he briefs the Republican caucus as well. I'm not exactly sure when. I do think it's also on Tuesday, to let us know what's going on. One of my biggest concerns remains our small businesses. San Bernardino County has some programs that they've made available through both the state and the federal government, and you can find those on their website. My concern is leasing. Some of the biggest questions we get from our small businesses is, can we have a moratorium on our leasing and be able to just add that to the back of our lease? So I'm working with the county on how we could best do that. To date, we don't have anything in place. When we adjourned session on March 9th and came home, Team Leyva started reaching out to our vulnerable populations, our seniors, and our food pantries to see what they needed, and that's been a very big focus for us. We partnered with Isaiah's Rock, and they are helping us to distribute 20,000 pounds of rice that I purchased from a small mill up in Northern California. When we called our food pantries, they said what they couldn't find, especially in the early days of this, was any dry goods, rice, pasta, beans. So we were able to partner with that mill up in Northern California. The rice was delivered on Friday, and Isaiah's Rock has been helping us to distribute it to food pantries throughout the 20th Senate District. For those of you who don't know, that is Pomona out to San Bernardino for me. And then also I partnered with Assembly Member Freddie Rodriguez, and last week we took lunch and dinner to Chino Valley Hospital for the nurses there. Today we will be taking lunch for the nurses at Pomona Valley Hospital, and next week we will be doing a dinner shift for Pomona Valley Hospital. We partnered with Molina Health Services to provide bags to the Chino Senior Center to make sure our seniors have what they need so that they don't have to go out. Tomorrow we'll be providing bags to the Ontario Senior Center. And for us, our focus on Team Leyva has really been, how do we make sure our most vulnerable populations get what they need so that they can stay safe. And really a lot of that revolves around food and making sure that they have what they need. But again, my concern is small businesses, and I'm trying to gather all the information that I can. The representative from Gil Cisneros' office, I want to say thank you. That was some very helpful information. And I would just ask anybody who has any concerns or need anything to please reach out to Team Leyva. We have someone in our office every day, and we are all working from home. So please don't hesitate to let us know if we can be helpful.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that update. I think we have a question in here that's asking about, we hear about the SBA and the government programs from the federal side of things. What are some things that are coming for the states for businesses that our businesses should be aware of?
Well, the state is partnering with the banks. One of the problems that we have is that if you do not already have an account through one of the big banks and you have an account through one of the small banks are telling our businesses that they don't have enough money to lend to them. So I know that's not an answer. I'm hoping I'll have an answer today, because that's one of the questions for the governor's office is, what do we do with those folks? But the state of California has partnered with banks. They've partnered with the federal government. Really, it's all working together. I don't believe that there is something different on the state side. I think we're all working together, but I will try to get more information. And I would also, I'm gonna give you my personal email. It's cmleyva20@gmail.com, and you can feel free to email me any questions and I will find the answers.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. We had another question that came in which asked for clarification on the sales tax initiative. Are you familiar with that?
I am not.
Okay. Okay, we'll save that for something else. And then I just want to say I appreciate through the social media we've seen that you've been proactive in doing exactly what you just said on here, which is to providing food for those in need in our different areas. So we see that. So thank you for doing that for our folks. So thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, well, I think that's it. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on and give us an update here. As she mentioned, her email address, I put it in the chat section as well, so you can get that email address in the chat section if anybody needs that information also. So thank you, Connie.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Okay, and then our next panelist is from State Senator Ling Chang's office, I hope.
Hi, this is Ling.
Oh, hi, Ling. How are you?
Good, how are you? Thank you
Good.
for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Great, so just jumping behind Senator Leyva, I do have some information about small business, but let's just go through the whole, some of the more broad information that I'd like to present today. So we have, I'm sure that many of you are following this on the news and all, but we have a two-part crisis. One is the public health side. I was listening to what the chief was saying. He's absolutely correct that the next 2 weeks are going to be critical. We do need folks to stay at home. Allegedly that this coronavirus epidemic is going to, or pandemic is going to peak in the next 2 weeks. So it's important to stay at home. And if you do go out, to wear masks or create one with a bandana or any type of clothing or cloth. It's important to do that. The other crisis is the economic one. People all over the state are losing their business, their jobs, their ability to support their families. Last week, the Labor Department reported that the national jobless claim surged to more than 6.6 million, so that brings the 2-week total to 10 million. And these are historic numbers. In terms of California, California has received 1.9 million unemployment insurance claims as more and more workers lose jobs. That's just shy of the 2.2 million claims processed through the entire 2008 Great Recession. So it's really difficult to imagine our economy during this kind of contraction for weeks on end. I know Senator Leyva had explained what we did in the legislature prior to recessing. We authorized up to $1 billion for the governor to carry out his COVID-19 response plans. I am working with my federal, state, and local partners to ensure that we do everything we can for everyone. And in terms of my local communities, I've also been out there doing grocery drives for seniors. We've received some donated PPEs, so we were able to deliver that to St. Jude's Hospital, St. Jude's Medical Center, and we will be continuing to do that if we are able to procure PPEs on a volunteer basis. Updates this week from the governor. He had announced a new website, covid19supplies.ca.gov, to get critical medical supplies to the front lines of California's fight against COVID-19. So this website is going to allow individuals and companies to donate, sell, or offer to manufacture 13 of the most essential medical supplies. And I've actually personally gotten calls from companies who want to sell this. So I would ask that people go to that website so that they can sift through and work through the whole process. Governor Newsom also announced the COVID-19 testing task force, which is a public-private collaboration that will work with stakeholders across the state to quickly and significantly boost California's testing capacity. That's incredibly important. So I'm very thankful that he is doing that. And on a side, we are getting on a conference call with the governor's office this afternoon, so we can provide that information next week as well. The governor also signed an executive order that will facilitate childcare for children of essential critical infrastructure workers. So I did get calls from healthcare workers, doctors who said that they need childcare support. And so I'm very, very glad that he was able to jump on this quickly as we contacted his office and explained the need. The California State Association of Counties and the California Association of County Treasurers and Tax Collectors announced that counties will will use all existing authority to cancel penalties and other charges for homeowners, small businesses, and other property owners that are unable to pay their property taxes. So that is going to be on a local government basis. However, property owners who can pay or that haven't been directly affected, including international corporations and out-of-state landlords, still need to pay on time to keep critical government services running. So that's something that's going to be determined at the local level. I believe that is it in terms of the more broader update. But in terms of state assistance that's available to small businesses, so the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development has several programs available, including state loan programs. And many of those are available through local regional small business development centers, and also through GoBiz iBank, including the Disaster Relief Loan Guarantee Program and the Jump Start Loan Program. So you can go to the website. We will provide that website to you because it's a very long web address. So I will upload that for distribution. And on the federal level, the SBA is offering low interest federal disaster loans. So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the update that I have for you.
Sorry, I was muted there. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that insight. Again, this is a reminder, if you have questions to ask of our panelists, this is your opportunity to do it. We did have somebody asking to post a link for the PPE for healthcare workers. My wife is a nurse, and her information is that supplies are still critically low. And then I know that I have a question for our representative from Curt Hagman's office about that as well, because I hear that they have some resources for that also. So Senator Ling Chang, I appreciate you coming on the call and taking the time to give us that update. I had one thought, but it's escaped me because I have these kids running around here. But thank you for taking the time to come on and give your update to our members. We greatly appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And then our next panelist is from Supervisor Curt Hagman's office, Peter Rogers.
Good morning, Zeb. How's everybody? Hanging in there?
Doing good.
These interesting times. First of all, Zeb, thank you and the Chamber for hosting. I know you're hearing this often, but it's very unique to have this sustained effort to create a communication line through all of us in the region, and we appreciate the efforts that you're making and the Chamber staff is making. And so Supervisor Hagman, thanks you again. He apologizes, he's out and about right now. I know he was on last week, and I'll tag team with him when necessary for reports. Statistics, we have a dashboard for the county that updates statistics as to what's happening in the region. And by the way, that dashboard address is covid19.gov. So COVID-19.gov will get you to the dashboard, and a lot of information that we all source is updated on a daily basis, at least a weekday basis. And some of the information was released yesterday. As far as county stats, there have been 5,670 tests so far done as of yesterday at 5 o'clock. And of those, we have 530 documented cases of the virus. And so that's just under 10% of those tested. And I know tests have been hard to come by, at least last week. I know that's increasing now. Anybody that suspects they have the virus should contact their healthcare provider first. And occasionally the county is promoting some sites to visit. They had one out in the desert last week. So as that comes about, I'm sure we'll all hear about it. But that the site that's available through the covid19.gov is updated information daily. So check that out. And as far as just local statistics, because everybody's interested in that, in Chino Hills, there are 22 documented cases at the moment. And in the city of Chino, there are 16 documented cases. And then also we heard about it last week, there's 12 cases at the Chino prison that they're working on, trying to mitigate that issue. Our public health officer is recommending, as has been mentioned by a couple of panelists now, that wearing face masks while conducting business or activities is highly recommended. It's not mandatory yet. I think the county supervisors are going to talk about that in the next day or two. But for now, they are highly recommending using face masks, as Wes has mentioned, and others. So we would also recommend the use of face masks. And the same as with everybody else, we're recommending in the region to stay at home if you can. There's essential businesses, and those essential businesses are defined on that COVID-19.gov dashboard also. And also you can access the state, because a lot of the things that the county is following are the guidelines set by the state of California. And then we're just customizing to our particular region. So I would recommend that stay home as much as you can. And as Wes and others have mentioned, the next 2 weeks, we're hearing the same thing that everybody's hearing, that the next 2 weeks are going to be very critical for the region as it works its way towards the West Coast. But we've been very proactive, and California's been receiving a lot of accolades for being the first to put in certain mandates that other states followed immediately. So I think that could be a game changer for us as far as the amount of cases that are documented will be maybe hopefully less, but we think the next 2 weeks are going to be a real critical time for all. And county offices are generally closed to walk-in traffic. They're available for the call-ins, and same with the Curt Hagman office here in Chino Hills. The government center, a lot of the employees at the government center are on skeleton crews or split shifts. Most of the county employees that have the ability to are working from home if their job allows. But walk-in traffic, I know it's been a frustration for a few people. We've heard through this office. I would just call that office and see what you can do to take care of regular business, because regular business still happens. Although our focus is on the virus, regular business happens every day. So I think that's it. We have daily updates that come in, but there's nothing that's probably that different than from when Supervisor Hagman spoke to you last week, other than some statistics and updates. So I think that's it, Zeb.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Peter. I know that I had a question or comment, I guess. I know recently it came from the county of San Bernardino. I'm not sure if it was from your office, but there was an update about, because one of the things our Chino Rotary Club was looking to do was we wanted to fund masks for first responders and the kind of equipment they needed, the gowns, the N95,
Right.
that kind of thing. So we tried to we've tried to do that by securing that from some company that was dealing with a company in China, but we in talking with some of our folks about it, they just weren't sure how safe that or how reliable that would be. So we're trying to work locally with businesses. We saw something that came out from the county yesterday that was talking about places where you can donate funds through the government. They will source those products and they will bring it to the those that are most in need, the first responders. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not familiar with the exact program. I can look into it though for you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have that. I have the email. I'll forward it on to you, and we can see if that's
Okay.
how that looks out. Maybe that's something we can update our members on, because I know a lot of our members, those that aren't doing okay or that have funds set aside, like our Rotary Club as an example, we do want to support, but we're also concerned about spending our money in a place where they're giving faulty products, or or we just basically lose the
Certainly.
because we're going to somebody who isn't trustworthy or reliable, and we don't know that. So we want to make sure we're doing our due diligence and make sure that the goods get to where they're intended to go, and make sure we're helping our community.
Perfect. And I know a lot of people are doing an outreach to our office here as far as how they can donate. I know BAPS did that last week, and we've had others that are making masks and have access to products. And I've contacted our police and fire to see if they're in need, and to some degree they are, and some degree they're covered. So, but we appreciate everybody that's willing to step forward, including Rotary clubs and all clubs, to to help distribute some of the products they either may be making or that they have access to. So I'll look into that as far as what resources and what guidelines we're following as far as products coming in.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you. Yes, so I think she's hungry. Yeah, there was a question. So somebody asked a question about the sales tax initiative, and Senator Connie Leyva was curious to know if that person was talking about the split roll or not. I can't remember who asked the question, but we have that in here. I also want to point you guys to our chat section. In the chat box, we have several groups that are participating today. So we have Chino Valley Fire, who is here. I know we have representatives from the Inland Empire Utilities Agency, the City of Chino. We have representatives from, who else was in there? From the Census Bureau, from San Bernardino County Workforce Development. So those questions, if you have any types of questions for those folks, feel free to use the chat box as well. I want to thank our panelists for coming on to share those updates. We're doing this on a weekly basis. So every Tuesday from 8:30, we send an email out to our local leaders, Chino Valley leaders, to give us updates on the different aspects of the SAR. Each week we'll have different panelists to come on and give their updates. So it's really informative for those of you that are trying to figure out how you can best navigate this difficult time. You see the resources that we've already provided when it comes to the PPP loan applications or any kind of challenges that you're facing. This is a great opportunity to try to get those questions answered and go from there. Oh, we did have a question for you, Peter, from the, what's the possibility of getting test centers here in the West County? Sorry, you're on mute right now.
Unmute myself. I was actually responding to Jim right now.
Okay.
If you didn't get back to me. These tests we've only done a couple so far, and I think they're based on how many test kits they have available and where they see some of the hotspots going on. And so I suspect they're going to be generated more so in this area, but I don't have a timeline. That seems to be a little more spontaneous.
Okay, excellent. And I think this, thank you for that, Peter. I think this next question might be for Stephanie. We have a question about 1099 independent contractors and the EDD qualifications. Are you still there, Stephanie?
I am, and I might have to get back to them, but you want to read me the question, Zeb?
It's kind of vague. So it says, what about 1099 independent contractors EDD qualifications?
And is that for a small business loan are they looking for?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay, so I'm not sure either, but what I'm going to suggest to the participant who asked, I posted, and I'll just post it so it's near top of, but you know, call me directly so I understand the question. When I go on mute, you're more than welcome to call, so you can do it right now if you like. It's my number, 714-853-5440, which I'll put in the chat again. And if you know, I might not be able to answer it, but I'm sure our small business guy will, or if necessary, I'll talk to my legislative director and we'll get to the bottom of it.
Okay, I think it was in regards to unemployment was the.
Oh yeah, all right. So regarding unemployment, we're looking at that. I don't have much to offer at the moment. But if the individual could give me a call, I'd like to log it for their concern and then look and see what things we might be able to have to help. But I mean, you know, when we get those kinds of constituent inquiries, it's very helpful, you know, because it really guides the congressman. And sometimes we even ask if, you know, he can use somebody's issue as part of his testimony in Congress or add to a letter he's writing. So I really would encourage them to reach me directly. And so I'm putting that phone number in now.
Okay, perfect. And it's, yeah, David Bear. David, make sure when you're posting in the chat section that you use, make sure going to all attendees so that way we make sure that Stephanie sees it. And then.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, please do.
I think what is being referred to, my son's going through the same thing. He's a sole proprietor business and was led to believe a week or week and a half ago that sole proprietor businesses could apply for unemployment depending upon what their situation was. And then as he started to apply, he was told that the those guidelines had to be fine-tuned. That was last week, and I don't know if my son's heard anything about filing for unemployment or some unemployment benefits, if that's been fine-tuned yet. I suspect that's what the question was about, specifically sole proprietors or small businesses.
Yeah, and EDD.
You just went on to mute, Stephanie. Stephanie, you went on to mute. You started responding and then went on mute. There you go.
Okay, so I was just saying that, you know, unemployment insurance is obviously a state program, but I do want to clarify that, you know, if we know that there are a lot of people in special categories and that have been essentially forced to shut down by this crisis. It's a unique situation. So I do want to hear from those folks, and I really want to make sure it's communicated directly to our office. So please don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, excellent. And then we did have a response from Sol from U.S. Congresswoman Norma Torres's office, who says that the 1099s do qualify for EDD through the federal stimulus package. So she posted that in there in the chat section also. Then we're going to make sure that goes to everybody so they can see that. So yeah, again, if you're in the chats and you want to make sure that you're sending out something for everybody, make sure that you click that little downward arrow that says to everyone, so that way everybody can be in the loop. With that, so again, I want to thank our panelists for coming on. I'll give you some updates from the chamber and things that we have coming up so that you can stay involved in what we're doing. Tomorrow, actually, we have a presentation that's going to be going through all those federal programs and how our businesses can take advantage of it. So we're calling it a workshop on the CARES Act. So the CARES Act workshop is going to be hosted by Chino Valley Unified School District board member. She's also a lawyer for a legal firm, Christina Gagne. So she's going to be giving the full updates tomorrow morning from 7:45 to 9 on the CARES Act workshop. So if you're interested in really delving into that program, seeing how you can apply, what the rules and issues are around it, it would be a great thing to attend tomorrow from 7:45 to 9. We have every week we're going to be doing this Chino Valley Leadership workshop series on the coronavirus. So like I said, we'll have different panelists that will be coming in and talking about different issues that are facing our area. So it'd be a great thing to attend on a consistent basis. So every week on Tuesday from 8:30 to 9:30, we will have that set up for you. I know next week we already have confirmed panelist of Steve Eli from the Inland Empire Utilities Agency. So he will definitely be on our presentation next week to talk about water issues and how water and the coronavirus has impacted the Inland Empire Utilities Agency and our water here in the Chino Valley area. Let's see, we have, so on our website, I mentioned this at the beginning, but I think I'll touch on it on the end. On our website, we've created a coronavirus update page. This is specifically designed for businesses in the Chino Valley to try and help give you all the information that is coming to us, designed for business in the area, and make sure you have the resources and tools that are available. Because things are changing so quickly and so rapidly, we try to make that available for you on the homepage of our website. We've also put together a list for restaurants that are still offering delivery and takeout services. So that list is available on our website. One of the feedbacks that we got from a lot of our members was that they want to shop local, but they're concerned about the health issues that are presented by that. So we encouraged all of our restaurants to start posting on social media how they're following the social distancing guidelines, how they're protecting their customers, and that type of thing. So hopefully you'll start to see posts from our restaurants on social media about how they're protecting their food to make sure that you are staying safe when you're ordering food through them. But we do want to encourage you to take a look at that list. So if you are planning on going out and getting food, take a look at the list that we put together for you to shop local in the Chino Valley for these businesses that are offering takeout and delivery services. We also put together a list of all businesses who are still in operation in the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. I know it's not comprehensive, but what we do is we send it out to our members. They send it back to us. We're posting on social media. And so all the feedback we get, they can be a member, a non-member, it doesn't matter. If they're in business and they're in operation, send that information to us. I'll make sure that we put it up on our website so that people know that when you're still looking to do business with one another, we want to encourage that as much as possible while we can. So that's something else we have going on. Tomorrow, every Wednesday, we have our business at breakfast with a different speaker that's coming in. It also gives a chance for members to communicate and network on Zoom. So that's from 7:45 to 9. So we're going to do that every Wednesday. And I encourage you to sign up for, we've got a couple things. This Zoom program, the things that we put together, we're going to be posted on our YouTube page. Right now, this is also on Facebook Live. So it's on Facebook Live. It will be on our YouTube page once we edit it and post it up at the end of the day. It's also, are they not here for a second? It's also posted up on our YouTube page as well, and we'll post it to Facebook as well. So I encourage you to share those. We just started a Twitter account for the Chamber, so make sure you follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube, sign up for our email list, and check back on our website regularly to get all the updates about everything that's happening for Chino Valley businesses. I want to thank you guys for coming on and watching the webinar today. And if you have any last minute questions, we're still going to let this run for a couple minutes. So if you guys want to communicate and engage with each other, one of the other things I want to encourage is making sure that we're still communicating, still networking, still getting a chance to get to know each other. So please take the time to get to know those folks that are in our chat box, communicate with one another, and hopefully do business with one another. Thank you guys for coming, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. And I hope to see you tomorrow morning where we're talking about the CARES Act workshop with Christina Gagne. Thank you, and have a great day.